Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. And a big welcome to new subscribers. I've got new subscribers. I just hit 61 subscribers since the last time I recorded this, which is just amazing to me. I made this channel for a handful of friends and family, so the idea that other people are watching it too is just but I'm glad to have you here. And I do kind of know why I've gotten a boost in subscribers. One of the recent commenters, and yes, please comment on videos because I will talk to you if you comment, if you're nice. So anyhow, one of the commenters mentioned that Nate Linhart, who is the designer of Tenpenny Parks, shared the video in which I talked about Tenpenny Parks on social media, and that got a bunch of people looking at my channel and deciding if they wanted to look at my channel. And apparently some of them did. So thank you. Good to have you here. Nice to join me at the table. We finished our fourth wall Scrabble game, Robert and I. It was a weird one too, that the board was very, very tight, and we did have some problems, but we did not have that all vowels all the time problem that we had in the previous game. But yeah, that's a lot of fun, and we'll be clearing this out and starting another game. Over the weekend, we played a lot of games. Now, mind you, they're all very, very small, but it's kind of like, how much fun can we pack into a really small space? And the answer is a lot. I mean, a whole lot. We had an enormous amount of time from just playing some really small stuff, including some new stuff we haven't played before. And one new thing that we had only played once before, that after our second play, we discovered we were playing it wrong. So anyhow, we got in 12 plays of 6 games. And for those of you who are new to the channel, I have a handy dandy notebook and I write notes, and I still forget stuff and mess stuff up, but it's here. So anyhow, I've got 12 plays of 6 games this past weekend. And for us, that's actually a lot of plays because we're casual weekend board gamers. We do other stuff on the weekend sometimes, like gardening in the backyard, and the weather's been very rainy, so stuff is just growing like mad. Anyhow, we played a couple of Button Shy games. They are a company that make small wallet games, 18-card games. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about how much fun can you pack into a really small space. Arcane Bakery Clash, we played our second game of this, but only one play because we discovered that we were misinterpreting one of the cards, which would change gameplay quite a bit. So we need to give this a few more plays, this time playing it right. But this is a lot of fun. There is one thing you should note, and this, I'll get to this in a minute. There's one thing you should note is that this game requires pennies, like a dozen pennies or coins or tokens to mark things on the cards. But otherwise, everything you need is in here. Usually with Button Shy games, you don't need any extra stuff, but occasionally there will be games that require you to have a few doohickeys to mark stuff. So have some doohickeys on hand. This is a lot of fun. It's basically 2 elves battling in a magic bakery, throwing recipes into the oven and then throwing them at each other and trying to destroy each other with their magical recipes. And the artwork is very, very cute. The artwork is just, okay, here is 1 player and here's 2 players because it's a 2-player game. Quimby and Pa. I usually play Pa. And you get recipes like red vampiric cake and sucker punch and mallow mist and popcorn storm, which you can see the little thing down here. That's one of the things that you may need to mark, as well as the health track on your character. But oh, and there are monsters. It was the monster card, the creatures. You can control a couple of creatures, and it was the creatures we were doing wrong. Here's one of them, the ginger golem. And the other one is the syrup elemental, which is a personal favorite of mine. Even though I was playing it wrong, it's actually more devastating this way. Okay, so that is Arcane Bakery Clash from Button Shy. This was one of their, lately Button Shy's been doing, on Fridays they announce a game of the week, which is, in some cases it's an expansion, but in some cases it's a whole wallet game. It's put on sale for half price. This is announced on the Button Shy Discord, and it's also announced on their website. Well, not announced, but well, maybe it is announced, but you can see it on the game that's listed. We got this as one of their games, one of their half-price games of the week a couple of weeks back because it was already on my list of things to get. And then there was an expansion, and then this came up last week, I Otter, which is a 2-player trick-taking game. And you're thinking, 18 cards, 2 players, trick-taking? How exactly is that going to work anyway? It works a lot better than you would think. Well, let's see. We have adorable otters, 3 suits, blue, yellow, and pink. And you will notice down here at the bottom of the cards, they have a little thing that shows a little reminder of the order. Well, where's the blue one? Of the order of the trump suits, you know, like blue always beats yellow, yellow always beats pink. But if it's a color in the same suit, then the highest number wins. Okay, the back side of these cards has scoring conditions. See, in the river? The river has scoring conditions. Man, I am just scrambling all these cards together. I'm going to have to sort out my otters from my magicians at the end of this. Sometimes it's like most of a particular color. Sometimes it's most of a particular number. Sometimes it's each color or each number or something like that. The back sides of the cards you can see are rivers. Your little otters go into the rivers. So you each start off with 3 cards, and there are 3 cards in the river. Person plays a card, other person plays another card. Whoever wins the trick, and this is where the trick taking gets tricky. Whoever wins the trick gets to pick a card from the 3-card river that's laid out there. And that card goes into their hand. And they can look at the scoring conditions, and they can look at the other sides to see what numbers and colors they have. All information is available to them, you know, and they've won it, and they decide one card to go into their hand. Now, what makes it tricky is the 2 cards that are left. Those 2 cards are left for the loser of the trick. The person who lost the trick then gets to look at both sides of these cards and decide one to take into their hand and one to make as a scoring condition of the game. So ideally, when you win a trick, you want to pick scoring conditions that are you're going to want to leave scoring conditions on the table that either one of them, ideally, would benefit you more than your opponent, so that your opponent then has a tough choice as to which to take into their hand and which to have as a scoring condition. Sometimes it may be strategic to lose a trick, thereby putting somebody else into the driver's seat, but you don't want to do that too often because you need to get a lot of otters into your den, because the otters in your den are the ones that are scoring off those scoring conditions. So it's kind of tricky. The feel of it reminds me a bit of the I Split You Choose game mechanism, because it's like the winner picks a card and then they leave 2 other cards that the other person gets to choose a scoring condition, which may not benefit them, and take one into their hand. So it's very tricky. It is a lot of fun. It is one of those games that you can just play a game and then play a game and then play a game, because it's a lot of fun and it plays really quick. We played 5 plays of I Otter over 2 days amongst doing other things. And I am going to put a link below for the how to play and playthrough that the designer of the game did, which talks a little bit about how the game works, because it is just so much fun. And it's a lot of fun very fast, like small game, big punch. Same thing with Arcane Bakery Clash, come to that. So we played those two button shy games, but we did play games that were a little bit bigger. It being Mother's Day weekend, we did get together with the fam, and we got in a 4-player game of Birds of a Feather. We have now played this at 2, 4, and 6. It was only one game of it because we were playing other stuff, but smaller games. But which I sat out on because they were not really my thing, but this one, it really doesn't, you can play it at 2, but the random factor in 2 makes it less good than if you play it with 4 or higher, because you have to just draw off the deck to make up the second and third player when you're playing it with 2-player. But it's a fun game, and it has beautiful bird artwork and stuff about bird habitats and stuff. And here is, let me see. Here's what I did for this, because you have to have a score sheet on this. I got some half pencils, and this game came with the deck divided between the 2 compartments here. And I just got some half pencils. It plays up to 7, and I put a whole bunch of half pencils in this side with the scoring pad. There's also an app, and honestly, the app scoring is much easier because it's color-coded, and you just tap when you're coordinating like bird, habitat, bird, habitat. And so it's very fast and easy. But if you're taking it somewhere, and it does travel well, because it's a very small box and it plays very fast. I took it to a game group I had not met before, and it was a terrific icebreaker with new people. That was the 6-player game. But honestly, I liked it at 4 better than 6. 6, we kind of got a lot more, the hand distribution was just a lot wonkier at 6, but that could have just been, we only played a couple of games, so that could have just been, just a random thing. 4-player, the card distribution seemed like it was a little bit better. Just something to keep in mind. I will continue to try to play this at varying player counts. It's very fast. It's very fun. You're trying to score birds and habitats, and you lay down, and then like whatever's laid down becomes lingering birds, but the predators can scare them away. So that was a thing. And then what else did we do? We did the next to the last game in Micro Macro Crime City. And if you've been watching my other videos, you know that we are cooling on this game as we go on. I think we're just getting tired of it, and we totally bombed out on this one. I mean, we just we didn't get that card, and we didn't get that card, and we couldn't find this. And we found a ton of stuff, but everything we found was just not helpful. So yeah, the next to the last one did not go well for us at all. And I don't know. It was a tougher difficulty level. The two last ones are maximum difficulty level, but our enjoyment of the game does not seem to be keyed to the difficulty level that they get, because we've done ones that were really difficult that were just a tremendous amount of fun, and man, we just worked that map for everything it was, and we just had a blast doing it. And then there were other ones that were at the same difficulty level that we just didn't like at all. And I tried to put my finger on it. I think it has something to do with the type of clue or the type of thing that you're looking for. There's something for some cases that just seem to make it less fun and more of a grind. And I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but there aren't a lot of cases like that, to be fair. Even though we have been enjoying it less and playing it less because we just are feeling ever so slightly burned out on it, like the novelty is gone, I would still say, though, we have enjoyed tremendously most of the games in this box. But it seems like as we go further on that we're enjoying it a little bit less, and that there are a few more hits than misses. It could be due to difficulty level increasing. Perhaps I should have, and there's no specific order you need to do the cases. Perhaps I should have shuffled them up rather than doing them in the listed order, which is more or less ascending in difficulty. But that's something to think about. But we've only got one more left of that. Another game we played, you may remember when we went to our friendly local game store, met up with a couple of local gamers to play Moonrakers. Robert Impulse bought this, Tic-Tac-KO, Cute versus Evil. Now, see, I didn't realize when he got this that this was actually the second Tic-Tac-KO game, that there was a Dragons and Unicorns one, I think, which when I looked up videos for this, that's what I mostly found. But he got it because the theme just seemed cute versus evil. And we do like some other games from this company, like Happy Little Dinosaurs and Here to Slay and things like that. But the artwork is very, very cute. Even the evil is very, very cute. But this thing that I just flashed at you, this is actually your board. Yeah. So, no, this is the wrong. This was the instruction sheet. But the board is made out of the same paper as the instruction sheet. So that is a little problematic. You unfold this and it tends to, you see, accordion back up on you on the table. So what we did is we laid little button shy games at strategic points on the edges of this to help hold it flat while we played. And it is basically tic-tac-toe. Like code names, you have cards that have scoring conditions, which I might add are not always tic-tac-toe like scoring conditions. Let me see here. These are, that's the evil deck, that's the cute deck. One of these has to be scoring. Oh, yes, here's scoring. They were in here. You have these scoring conditions. I'll take them out of the package, hopefully. And I'll see that one's in a row, you know, but they're sometimes not all in a row. They can be pretty much anything on the board, just 3 of them. I say just, well, yeah, see, they can be anything. I say just 3, but if you're playing the harder game, which we didn't play, and I think we will the next time, you can use letters as well as numbers, because there are letters, you may have noticed on that grid too. The easier version, and let me tell you, we got stuck a couple of times. We ended up with gridlock, and it was a hard-fought battle. And I should say right off the bat, this is a 2-player game. The box does not say that it is a 2-player game. The box says that it is what do they say here? A 2 to 4-player game. But that is predicated upon the idea that you're playing in teams. They do have instructions for a 3-player game, and I didn't look at that. I just can't even imagine how that would work. But the idea is that you are playing cards, each one trying to fulfill your objective. Each person has their own hidden objective, and you're trying to fulfill that. And of course, the trick is that some of the squares you need, your opponent might need too. So there are cards which can displace other cards. Very tricky, that displacement thing, because you could end up displacing them to a square they need, which also happened a few times. He did it to me, I did it to him, and that was good. This is a basic evil card, but you have Hypnotic Doom here. There are hypnotized cards where you can hypnotize a character, and that card is then turned over, and the other player has to, I played evil, and the other player has to spend a card to turn it back. There are special evil cards which can be placed on there like basic evil cards, except they have a special ability to. This card can't be displaced. That's kind of nice. And this card, when it enters the grid, you choose the card from your discard pile and move it face down to the top of your team's deck or to the top of the 2-player deck. This really is a 2-player game. I mean, you can play it as teams, but the whole idea of this game being fundamentally a team game that you can play with 2 players, that just seems like, that's not right. But you also have special magic cards. The magic cards, this is one of the good deck. I was showing you the evil deck. The magic cards in both decks will be white. So you can tell them, but it also says magic cards. And like in Magic the Gathering, There are cards that are instant cards that can be played whether it's your turn or not, that will prevent other players from playing cards or do various things like that. But yes, it is a huge amount of fun if you like card battler games, person versus person, and you're battle. In a way, it's kind of a territory battle because you're trying to get things on the squares. And there was one time when I should have strategically let him get an objective so that would have freed up a square that I just could not free up. And then when he gets it, then the cards go off, and then I could have put my card there, and I didn't think of that. So that game drug out a little bit longer as we're displacing cards and moving cards and destroying cards and moving them off and putting more cards on. It was a very tough battle, and we played, how many games did we play of that? 3 plays. We played 3 plays of that. This is another game like as soon as you finish playing, and that was all in one sitting. As soon as you finish playing, we're going like, let's go again. But it's a huge amount of fun if you like little card battlers. And like I said, by having an extra letter on your objective things, that can make it easy, that can make it harder to increase the difficulty level a little bit. Let me put these cards back into here. But we played that one, and that was a huge amount of fun. This was definitely a winner. And we don't usually like head-to-head kind of things, but we do actually like that whole fighting over territory things, because you may recall Rome is one of our favorite games. So, yeah. But we played our second and third plays of Library Labyrinth this weekend, and this was a big win also. Although more complex than Tic-Tac-Toe. This is a cooperative game in which you lay out, it's a dungeon crawler. You lay out a library grid because you are in a library, and the library terrors have gotten loose from the books in the library, and you have to flip over tiles to reveal lighted paths. Well, yeah, lighted paths. Some of them there are a few that are just plain lighted. This is a shelf tile here, and when you turn over one of these, you put one of the shelf tokens on it, and it tells you which shelf it is, like whether it's fiction or historical or children's or whatever. And you need to capture the beast. So that's one thing. You can capture them and get them off the board, and you really need to do that even if you don't have a shelf to put them in, because 6 beasts are terrors on the board. 6 terrors on the board will lose you the game. That's it. Game over. So you need to keep moving pathways, flipping tiles, rotating tiles, getting to those terrors. You play cards. You play cards in order to remove the terrors. The cards have special symbols on them, which you match up with the symbols that the terrors need. Like here, this is classic fiction. You have the Lady of Shalott. She has 2 pink and 1 red. And you can see there are just different characters from fiction. It will tell you a little bit. Whoa, card. Yes. Everybody take a drink. I just dropped something. It happens. If you're a new subscriber, you know that I am always dropping something and dumping out boxes and scattering cards all over the table. I'm going to have a mess to clean up here. But yeah, you have 6 different shelves. A bunch of different cards. You can, on your turn, you can draw new cards, you can play cards and shelve and move and stuff like that. The categories are classic fiction, children's fiction, okay, wow, look, Anne Shirley, Anne of Green Gables. There's and Amazing Lives, including people I had not heard of before. And that's another thing. These are all women in fiction and women in history and science. Madame Curie is in here somewhere, I think. Oh, but we also have, oh yes, Alice Ball. So yes, we have a lot of things in science. I could not find her. Okay, and we have Joan of Arc in historical leaders. As I said, lots and lots. They did a lot of research for this. And so this can be used as an educational tool for various, for literature and leaders. That's historical leaders. We have one more category left. Let's see, amazing lives, science, classic literature, children's fiction, and then we have legends. Himiko. Okay, Queen of Sheba. Rhiannon. Oh, yeah. Medusa. Believe it or not, Medusa is actually on your side. Oh, Athena. Yes, so you have to shove a monster in each of those categories. The monster tiles. What did I do with? Oh, yeah. This is one of the open pathway tiles. Not a lot of those, and there are library tiles, but mostly there are terror tiles, which you have to flip over, and then you put terror things on it, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or plague, or spider webs. Let's see. Oh, the chupacabra makes an appearance. We defeated the chupacabra. The Minotaur, or as the British say, Minotaur. Martian robots. Forest of Thorns, Bunyip. There's just all kinds of different terrors in here. We also have kind of more abstract things like the pit and the pendulum. And anxiety is one of the terrors loose in the library, and Reichenbach Falls, which I keep thinking, hey, shouldn't that have been Moriarty? Oh, and we have a Kraken, yes, and a Jabberwock, and Dracula, of course. But that's one of the things. On one hand, this game is kind of like educational. You have all of these different characters from history and literature and various things from the books. And you have a whole booklet here, which is actually bigger than the rule book, which tells you about the different characters, gives you a little bit more information than what's on the cards. So this can be used as an educational tool, but it is also, and I hope the designers don't take offense at this, but it is also profoundly silly, because you have, let's see, where is it? There are treasure cards in here. What did I do? Oh, the treasure cards are here. You have treasure cards which can give you special abilities, but they can also give you weapons like Spear of Minerva or the Magic Flute. I wielded Excalibur a couple of times, or rather, I think Anne of Green Gables wielded Excalibur, and that's what I mean about it's kind of profoundly silly. You end up with these, like, because it has both fiction and nonfiction in here, you end up with stuff with, like, oh, I'm not finding who I'm looking at, who I'm looking for. You end up with this stuff with, you have like strange characters, like you've got Anne Shirley from Little Red Riding Hood, and then you've got Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and you've got Helen Keller and Frida Kahlo, and I'm naming some of the ones you may have heard of, but there's a lot of in here that you may not have heard of that I think are really interesting people. And Harriet Tubman. And I mean, you may end up with this thing where Anne of Green Gables and Harriet Tubman are wielding Excalibur to beat the Jabberwock, to defeat the Jabberwock. And I mean, it's just kind of bizarre, you know. So in a game, you could say, I've got 2 green, and somebody else say, well, I've got two yellow and 1 pink. Can you pass me a pink if we meet here like that? And it's like this, and you can do it that way. But then on the other hand, you could say, I'll give you Excalibur, and then that way Harriet Tubman and Anne Shirley can wield Excalibur to beat the Jabberwock or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or something. So you can find yourself in a situation where you are uttering sentences that you never thought you would ever utter. It's like, yes, hand me that, Minerva's spear, and let's give it to Joan of Arc, so that she can team up with Britomart, who was from the Fairy Queen, in order to defeat, random tile here, the King in Yellow. It's just, it gets kind of bizarre if you just get into all of the characters and the weapons and the treasures. There are treasure tiles on here. That's how you get those treasure cards. You also start with one, which is drawn at random, and it can be a special ability card, or it can be a special ability card, or it could be a actual treasure, like an artifact, which those artifact cards, they always have two of one color. So yeah, if you can make your way to one of these tiles, that's very good. You also get a treasure card when you shelve a monster. So, and we kept forgetting to do that. I think we would have possibly won sooner than our third game if we had done that. But our biggest problem was just turning over the shelves. We were not getting all the shelves that we needed to shelve all the monsters in our first couple of games. But the third game, man, we turned over and revealed shelves we needed very, very quickly. And we had all of the shelves revealed very, very fast. This is our center tile here, the one with the compass rose on it. And that allowed us then to capture and shelve and capture and shelve and capture and shelve. We also have a bookworm that is moving around the library. And this is one of our little things. And as he moves around the perimeter between the tiles, you turn over a disturbance card, which also acts as the timer for the game. And it shows you which one of the grids in relation to where he is in the center between those four that is then revealed. If it's already been revealed, it may be, depending upon whether it's got something on it, or whether it's a terror tile with something on it, or without something on it, or a shelf tile, or whatever. Some of them are treasure tiles, some of them are flipped back, some of them are rotated. If it's an empty monster card, and of course I don't turn up a monster, if it's one of these that's already had the monster removed from it, or the terror removed from it, then it spawns a new one. And this moves around at the end of each turn. There's a limited number of cards in the deck, and how many players you play with determines how many of these you put out. And there is a time out card, out of time card, when you get to the bottom of the deck. But this is kind of acts as a timer for the game. If you run out of time, you also lose. It's not just a matter of 6 monsters. So there's actually 2 phases. You got to get the monsters off the board, and as you get the monsters off the board, each one of these has, this one has purple, green, and red, so it needs to be shelved with a purple, green, or red shelf. This one has pink, gold, or green, so it needs to be put on one of those shelves. And if the shelf has already shelved a terror, then that token has come off the board and is now marking that stack over there, so you can't use that one anymore. We ran into a situation in our second game, I think it was, where we had a monster that needed to be shelved, but there were shelves, the shelves, 2 of the 3 shelves that monster could be shelved on had already gotten monsters shelved in it, and we hadn't managed to turn over the shelf that we needed yet to get that one shelved. So, and it is monsters shelved, not monsters removed from the board. Removing monsters from the board will keep you from losing the game by having too many monsters, but you need to shelve 6 before the time runs out, and they have to be 6 different shelves. So that can also be kind of tricky in that you might actually pull more monsters. I mean, you may actually at the end of the game have pulled more than 6 monsters off the board, having shelved the 6 you need to win, if you're really good. Took us three tries to win this, and there was a fair portion of luck in that third win. But we had some inefficient turns, I would say, in the first couple of games, and we were still kind of getting the hang of it. But this is a huge amount of fun. It is both educational and, as I said, profoundly silly in you matching up people who have lived amazing lives, like Harriet Tubman. I believe she is in Amazing Lives, with, Cersei. Yes, Cersei is apparently one of the good guys in this, to wield Excalibur against, let me see here, Grendel's mother. But we had so much fun playing this. This one is going to get played over and over and over and over again. Yes. I have made a huge mess here on the table, just scattering cards, and I've had fun talking to you about these games, though. Let me look at my notebook if I can dig it out from underneath all of these cards here. More cards. Okay, I talked about that. 2 plays. Oh yeah, we played Labyrinth twice this past weekend. It was only on the third one that we won. Tic-Tac-KO, we played 3 times. Arcade and Bakery Clash once. Micro once. Birds of a Feather once. I Otter 5 times. Oh, and last week, toward the end of the week, we finished our 4th Wall Scrabble game. So it's like there's just been a huge amount of fun going on around here, even though these are very small boxes. Macro is a small box, although when you unfold that big cityscape, it takes up a good chunk of territory. Make sure you have a big table for that. This kind of takes up a modest amount of table space. You need to leave a little space between the tiles so that you can flip them easily, not snug them in quite so close together, and also you need room to put the little bookworm meeple between them. But see, this is kind of a small box game too. But a lot of game in this small box. A huge amount of game in this small box. This could quite easily become our favorite dungeon crawler. And we don't have a whole lot of dungeon crawlers. But yeah, we've only got, I think, 3 dungeon crawlers, and one of them we haven't played yet. So I don't know if we're going to keep all of our dungeon crawlers, because this one just kind of seems sort of ultimate, at least for us. And you got to understand, when I'm talking about these games, I'm talking about what's fun for us. And I mean, we laughed, we howled, we groaned. I mean, it was just like, these games, they were so much fun. Otters, adorable otters. This is apparently a birthday otter. It's just, and all of these weird things. And it's so much fun. We had just quite the wild weekend. And I mean, it's not like we sat down and played games all weekend long. These are all small games that can be played fairly quickly. I mean, Labyrinth was the longest one. And I'm thinking it's maybe a half an hour. Yeah, it does play very quickly. Once you get the rhythm of the game, it's like you get 3 actions. You're going like this, and take this, and shove that, and move, and shove, and move, and capture. And it's like, and you get a rhythm going, and it goes pretty darn quickly. Not terribly heavy on the analysis paralysis. We played at the lowest level. It has scalable difficulty levels. So, I mean, if you find that the Labyrinth is just a little bit too easy, and I think we're probably going to play maybe a couple more games, say, on the lowest level. And then I think we're going to have it down pat and we'll move up to the next level. But you can scale the difficulty by the ratio of monster cards. You always have to have a certain number of shelf cards, otherwise you wouldn't have enough shelves to win. But you can scale it with by changing the number of monster cards and the number of lighted pathway cards and the number of treasure cards. You can scale the difficulty. It has a chart in the book that tells you how to do that. So yeah, you can just keep making it harder for yourself. And I like also that all of the different combinations, and again, with a lot of these games, I'm seeing a lot of replayability. I mean, I don't know that Arcane Bakery Clash and Why I Otter has just like huge amounts of strategic depth, but they are so fun and the gameplay is so compelling and so silly and just everything that you can play it a lot and still get enjoyment out of it. I think that all of the games that we played, with the exception of Micro Macro, are keepers. And let's face it, Micro Macro, you play through each episode and then you're done. So that game was never going to be a keeper. It was going to be passed along or sold off or something. So anyhow, that's what we did this weekend. And in between all of that, we had time to see family and do gardening stuff and regular weekend stuff and just have fun away from the table. So that's one of those advantages of these really small games, is that they play very quickly. So that means you can drop them onto the table, have a huge amount of fun packed into a very small time frame, and then go off and do something else. And I mean, there's a place for big, heavy Euros that you're going to spend all day long on and just immerse yourself in. But there's also a place for fast and light and fun. And we do tend to lean into the fast, light, and fun quite a bit around this house. The tea today is Builders, and I've got my big Things Could Be Worse travel mug. Yes, it really is that big. It's ginormous. With all the monsters on it. This is part of a line of china called Calamity Ware. We also have the regular mugs. You may have noticed that I was drinking out of a smaller version of this at some times, but this is the travel version. I just don't have the lid on it because I've got Builders. I've got my ginormous travel mug because I needed a lot of caffeine. Can you tell I'm caffeinated? Yes. It's been fun. And it's always a joy to hang around the table with you and chat with you in comments. Let me know what you think about the games that I'm playing. Let me know about other games that you think might fit into this kind of thing. And I'll see you next time round the table. Bye.